Let's listen as Lorraine Lapointe, coach, therapist, educator, speaker, and founder of Head Heart Synergy, brings together another enlightened guest to inspire and motivate us to move forward, achieve our dreams and desires, so that we experience midlife awakening.
And I'm your host, Lorraine Lapointe. Today we'll enjoy another candid conversation that reveals how to bring back a sense of balance and how to find forward focus. Today, take just a few moments to join us as we explore the possibilities and the perspectives that provide us with greater inner peace, power, passion, and purpose. Because that's what I call living at the edge of fulfillment in a midlife awakening. Well, hello and welcome. Today's show, we welcome a guest who's made a really long journey, and she's made that journey from victim to powerhouse. And so she's got lots and lots of great stuff to share with us. And so be listening throughout the show in this most amazing hour. And so for those of you I haven't met before, I'm Lorraine Lapointe, and you can think of me as a guide and your host for the show. And I help people like us, especially women, who are entrepreneurs or others who want to live a more fulfilled second half of life. You know, that feeling that you want to be lighter and more joyful and leave all that heavy, uncomfortable stuff behind, that stuff that usually gets in our way. And typically I do this using both group and private coaching and my signature mental fitness path program, which is Purposeful Achievement of Transformational Health. So as I reach out today through the edge of fulfillment here on W4WN and Talk for TV, you'll have an inspiring, safe, and sacred place to enjoy different ways of looking at how to live and develop a little bit more greater peace, power, passion, and purpose. And I know our guest today will offer us all kinds of insights about that. So each week we invite a new guest to share their insights and how they have moved beyond the edge of fulfillment and living into a more passionate life they love. Because I believe, it's ours to discover. And when we discover new possibilities and perspectives, we more effectively can reach out and help others too. So each week, this broadcast goes live through the magic of technology, and we're broadcasting on a number of social platforms. So we really want to encourage you, our listeners and our watchers, to become part of our show and to engage with us through the chat, wherever the chat may be. It's in different places on different platforms, because you can help us shape the show into something that's most useful for you. And so I encourage you to do that throughout the show and make some comments about anything that you hear that is inspiring or that resonates for you. Or if you have a question, just put hashtag the word question, and then our wonderful producer Rachel, who makes the magic happen behind the scenes, will pop those up on the screen for us so that we can interact with you and answer any questions that you may have. Anyway, let's get on with the show. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to offer a coaching program when we hit 100 comments. So for every comment that you put in, you edge us closer to that. And I will offer a coaching program once we, through a raffle, obviously, or a draw, once we reach that 100. And, a coaching session for some people is worth a bajillion dollars because it can really make some changes in your life. And the trigger for that, of course, will be that we hit about 100 comments. So make sure that you're commenting. And if you feel something is really resonant for you and that it might resonate for others, you can also put the hashtag and the word nugget and then what it is that you hear. So let's keep those comments and questions coming. And we can start our comments and questions by thanking our wonderful producer, Rachel. And so I encourage you at the moment just to pop into that chat, into that comment section, and just say, thanks, Rachel, for all the things that we don't know that you're doing for us to make this a smooth and wonderful experience. And similarly, you know, our guest works also behind the scenes to support women so that they have a stronger voice, especially those who have experienced trauma or domestic violence in their lives. And, you know, research has shown that social isolation and the loss of employment and the reduced income and all the factors right now that are happening in our world are increasing the levels of domestic violence and for some. And so her work is super important. And I encourage you, if what I just described is you, then please reach out. Don't be alone. You're not alone. You have a voice. And we're going to hear about that from our guest, as today's guest will share some of her personal experiences, as well as the magic that is created when we break the silence. So keep in mind, our show is about improving your life, and the strategies that you hear will help you gain so much more satisfaction and fulfillment in your life. And our guest is wonderfully supporting us in our contest for today. So our contest, for those who don't know, it's an Amazon gift card supported by Let's Break the Silence. And the way that you are entered to win that Amazon gift card is there are 5 what I call special magic words sprinkled throughout the show. Don't worry, we'll tell you what they are. And just jot those words down as you hear them through the show. And at the end, we'll ask you to put all 5 words in. And those who put the 5 words in will be entered in a draw for that to win that Amazon gift card. So I hope it's you. Keep track of those words. And you've already heard the first word. So jot this one down. The first word for today is the word voice. And it's so important that people know, especially women who are in difficult situations, know that they have a voice. And I know that we're going to hear a lot more about that. So jot that word down. The word was voice. And that's why it's good to have you here on Edge of Fulfillment at W4WN and Talk for TV, because we want to hear your voice through the chat. We want to hear your questions, and we want to hear what you are thinking and feeling. And we want this to be a fun, interactive, and engaging community as we mindfully move forward. And so today I want to thank you as our listeners and our watchers, because we have both listeners and viewers, for being here at this time and in the future, because this live show is also available on replay. So if you're here on replay, thanks a ton. Go ahead and add to the chat too, because we often monitor those comments afterwards as well. So even if you missed us live, you can still be part of the show. So during the past few months of 2020, everyone's experienced moments that have sometimes made us feel like really tired, gloomy. You know, it's been a difficult year. You know, when asked about the topic of domestic violence, just over half of the people who are victim services workers say that there's been an increase this year. And that's something that, you know, we really need to be aware of. And I invite you that if that's not your experience, to also be aware of others in your community and let them know that they're not alone. Okay, because this is a serious topic, and it's time in our lives. We have an opportunity for renewal and awakening, and the development of readiness to squeeze more juice out of life, and we want that for all. So the second word in our contest today, you've actually heard, and it's the word motivation. I mentioned about being motivated so that we can listen to others and help others and support others. So go ahead and jot that second word down. So the first word was voice, and the second word was motivation. And I wanted to mention that our winner of the gift card, and she doesn't know this yet. So this is news. Our winner gift card from last week is Sherry Bergman. So I will be contacting Sherry Bergman to let her know that she is the winner of last week's Amazon gift card. And congratulations, Sherry. It was so great to have you as part of our show. And not to worry if you haven't felt, inspired lately or, motivated as much lately. It often happens, and when we least expect it, we can move forward to new possibilities with new perspectives so that you can mindfully move forward beyond the edge of fulfillment. And so let's start today with a card pull. All right, can we bring on our guest? Our guest is actually Angeline Mitchell, and I'm going to do a proper introduction of Angeline after the break. But hello, Angeline, how are you?
Hello, Lorraine. I am great. How about yourself?
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. It's so wonderful to have you here. And like I said, I'll do a formal introduction of you after our break. But if you'd like, could you help us pull the card for today? We're using the Oracle cards with 7 energies. And
Sure.
I'm just going to sit here and shuffle. And when you feel ready, you go ahead and say stop, and I will pull a card and see what comes up.
Stop.
All right. And the card we pulled was called the Uncharted Sea. I don't know if you can see that one, but the Uncharted Sea. So let me see what the Uncharted Sea is all about. It says your comfort zone is sometimes exactly that. Safe, familiar harbor that you finally come to within yourself. You have a sense that you don't need more than what's available right where you've landed in life. Now, however, is not one of those times. That's what I was talking about a little bit earlier. It's been a really tough year for a lot of people.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you may want to resist this urge because it will involve you leaving your comfort zone and embarking on a journey that's essential for your well-being. You're in an amazing place and an opportunity right now. You'll never be ready for these waters again. So when you notice an opportunity, be willing to give yourself the time and freedom to be curious without limitations and barriers and step out into the uncharted sea. So I think that's an awesome message for all of us today. And does that have special significance for you at all, Angeline?
Yes, it did. That really, really hit home with me because especially this year has been a very challenging time for a lot of people, because of COVID. Like in March, the whole country basically shut down. I know in New York, we shut down. And I remember coming home from the coffee shop and I sat on my living room with a cup of tea. And you know what I said to myself? I can do this. I can do this. We will persevere and get through this. I just looked out the window. You know how it is. It's like, you have to step into the unknown. This is not the time to sit back and watch Netflix. I remember when I was doing one of my Facebook Lives and I drove that point home. Now is the time to work on your passion, to pursue your passion, and to step out of your comfort zone into the unknown, because when you step out of your comfort zone, that's when great things happen. That's when,
True.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask you to hold that thought because our guests are listening at the Edge of Fulfillment. This is W4WN.com and Talk4TV. And we're going to be right back after this short break. All right. Okay.
There are 3 reasons video is the future of content. Number 1 is that videos are more engaging than just pictures or music alone. Number 2, it's much easier to tell your story in an interesting way. Number 3, videos go viral much faster. Hey, notice that you're watching right now. Next time, place your video here. Or listen on W4WN radio.
And welcome back. So a quick little recap, in case you're just joining us now. We are again running a contest this week for the Amazon gift card, and we thank our sponsor, who is also our guest today. That's Let's Break the Silence, Angeline Mitchell. And you've already been given 2 of the 5 words that you need in order to be entered for the draw. And so I'm going to give you those words again. Those words, in case you missed them, were voice and motivation. So jot those words down, and then at the end of the show, I'll ask you to put them in the chat, and you can put them in the chat as an option, or you'll be able to email me, because some people are listening on radio and obviously don't have access to the chat. So be listening for the 3 other words on this show, The Edge of Fulfillment, W4WN, and that's the Women for Women Network and Talk for TV. And we welcome today's guests. We've already met her briefly, and I said I would give her a little bit more of a in-depth intro. So our guest has a background. Her background is actually sales and marketing, which really helps her to inspire and to motivate, there's that other word again, other women to live happier, healthier, and more fulfilled lives. And really that's what this show is all about as well. Today, she's a voice for women who feel trapped, because she successfully navigated domestic violence and a very tricky divorce. And now she uses her wonderful, positive spirit and energy to enable others to focus on a very liberating goal, which is financial freedom. And I'm not going to tell her story. I'm going to ask her to do that. So let's hear her story, and welcome back, Angeline. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Lorraine. It is such a pleasure to be on your show today.
Thank you. And I understand that having a clear, confident voice is really important to you. Would you like to begin telling us your story and tell us a little bit about why that's so important for you?
It is very important for especially women to share their voice and to share their story with the world. So let me share my story. Okay.
Oh, please. Yeah, please do.
Okay. So about 10 years ago, I was in a very dark place, huge dark place. I had, was going through the throes of domestic violence. And I remember when I was working in my ex-husband's business, you know, that's where it all started. I lived and worked in New York City. So we, you know, back in 2000, you know, we were generating 6 figures, like 6-figure income in New York City and the 5 boroughs. And I was the one who brought sales in for the company. So, but, you know, that didn't, life wasn't a bed of roses. I went through domestic violence, meaning verbal abuse and physical abuse. So in 1999, one night, I clearly remember this, an argument had ensued, and I was, you know, like wearing my robe, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to get up from the bed and walk away. So then I hear him come from behind me, and he literally took my neck and threw me against the wall. And I fell backwards, but I could feel the crack in my nose. I said, oh my God. So I was bleeding, lying flat on my back. I was bleeding, and my face was swollen. And you know what the ironic thing is?
No.
That he took me to the hospital, to the emergency room.
Yeah, amazing how caring they suddenly become when they realize that others are going to see the damage that they've inflicted.
Exactly. So, so I got myself together, and he took me to the emergency room at the local hospital. I lived in Rhinebeck, New York at the time. So, here I was all hooked up on IV, and you know how it is. You look up. There's only one way I'm going, and that's up. God was looking out for me, and my surgeon came in, and he said, we're going to have to do reconstructive nose surgery. So he scheduled the procedure in 3 days. So 3 days later, I went into the hospital, and I was kept overnight, for observation. But thank God I made it through the surgery.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not unlike many women out there who are suffering, and not even sometimes physical abuse, but verbal, emotional, psychological abuse as well. Yeah, John, that's absolutely right. Hugs to Angeline and all of the women out there who are at the moment experiencing situations which are disempowering, because we really, they need to be empowered. And actually, that's our third word for today, because I know that that's something that you like to focus on, and that's empower women.
Exactly.
So our third word today, jot that down somewhere, is the word empower. And so please go on with your story.
Oh, absolutely. So, after the surgery was over, went home, and so what I decided to do was to endure another 9 years. I didn't feel strong and confident in myself, because that incident really, hurt me. It hurt me, and it stuck with me. So through the course of the next 9 years, I endured verbal abuse. That was the only time he hit me. So it was off and on. Things would get better for 2 weeks, and then the same old thing would happen all over again, with the verbal abuse. So in 2010, in May of 2010, I woke up with an epiphany, and that epiphany was I was going to drive to my attorney's office in Poughkeepsie, New York, and file for divorce and write out a retainer check for $5,000. You know how you just wake up and it's like, okay, it's time for me to move. It's time for me to, take the bull by the horns and file for divorce. And at that time, I was traveling up here to Saratoga Springs, New York, and I really, really liked it up here. This is where I sought refuge, and I started to build myself up again and build strength, that inner strength, in myself. And, and I stayed for the weekend. So after I filed the papers in court, I made a reservation at the Hilton Hotel for the weekend. So I drove up here and I stayed for the weekend, and I didn't know anybody here. No one, and it's funny because I would go out by myself, and I said, you know what, I could do this. I said, boy, this is good. I said, I felt at that time that a big weight was lifted off my shoulders, but at that particular time also, I was denied access to monies to our accounts.
Oh.
He also wrote balance transfer checks, meaning against my credit, because we had joint accounts, unfortunately. So I ended up I had a huge debt of about $40,000. And I had lost because I was working in corporate America at that time. So I had lost my corporate job, and things started to crash. And then I just said, okay, and here I am writing out a check out of my own savings account, to file for this divorce. But I said, you know what? There was something within me that said, you just have to get out of this situation. You can no longer endure this situation, because I deserve better in my life.
Yeah.
deserve
Do
much
you know
better.
do you know what it was that I'm just curious. Do you know what it was that just tweaked that voice inside that suddenly said that after all that time? Can you recall an instant or what it was?
I recall I believe I was talking to my first cousin on the phone, and I explained this whole situation with her, and you know what? And I'll never forget what she told me. She said, "You deserve better in life." She said, "You don't deserve this. You don't deserve it." You know, and she told me some stuff that he did behind my back,
Ah,
and that triggered it. That was the trigger. He also, I found out that he wrote letters to the New York State Police and the sheriff's office, basically admonishing me and humiliating me. I didn't know any of this, but I found out because someone from the sheriff's office called me. So that's when I reached my breaking point. I drove down to the police station, and I had to go to family court for an order of protection. So I was still able to like live in the house, but I had moved upstairs because we had a two-story home. So I just said it was talk about a time, right? So
yeah. Actually, what you've described to me
mm,
is the word that keeps running through my mind is narcissism.
right,
Classic narcissism. And as you pointed out, your relationship sounds like it started in a very typical way with somebody who has, and I don't like to label people at all. I think narcissism
mm,
and codependence are a spectrum, and we're all on the spectrum somewhere. If I hit my thumb with a hammer, I become narcissistic. It's all about my thumb.
right,
Um, but that's not where I typically live my life. But a relationship typically starts, in my experience, with, that love bombing. They answer every sentence. They know what you're thinking. They anticipate every need, and they become like Prince Charming in a way. And then the next phase, of course, is what you experienced was the dismissiveness, and then the last phase is discarding, and that's likely when you got shoved into that wall because
mm,
and then of course there, as you said, he took you to the hospital and he was oh so caring, back into the love bombing stage again. I
right.
actually yeah, I actually have a 4 module course that I offer some of my clients that helps them learn about the narcissism versus codependence,
Um,
because until you can see it and gain an awareness, you can't really do much about it. That's why I asked the question. And obviously, you gained an awareness through your cousin, and all it took was just one sort of sentence saying you don't deserve this, and you being able to receive that from her.
exactly. I remember she told me you deserve better in life.
Yeah.
So
Thank you, cousin.
thank you, cousin. Bless her forever, right? And we're still
Yeah.
good. We're close. We don't get together now because of COVID and everything. But you know, yeah, I thank her for just bringing, like, she enlightened me. She enlightened me.
Well, and
So
it
I
sounds
finally
like,
woke up. That's what it
yeah,
takes sometimes. Unfortunately,
I'm so glad you did.
me too. Oh yes.
That's what I call a midlife awakening. I mean, some people call it a midlife crisis, and often it's preceded
Mm,
by a crisis or what people considered something chaotic or critical. But it's really an awakening and an opportunity to reevaluate who we are and how we're living. And I see real power in that, because that power creates a sense of fearlessness. Like when you went to stay in that area by yourself, there was that, I got that sense of fearlessness
hmm.
from what you were saying, and that's actually our fourth word. So if our listeners and our viewers want to jot that one down, that fourth word is fearless. Being fearless. And that's what you try. I understand that's what you try and work with Let's Break the Silence. So can you tell us a little about Let's Break the Silence? I mean,
Sure.
awesome.
Oh,
Awesome
thank
name
you.
for a
Thank you.
company.
So talk about an awakening. So Let's Break the Silence. It's all about empowering women to find their voice and to help them break the silence. Because if there's an issue, I mean, if there's something that they're wrestling with, they need to bring that out in the open. Because number one, if you keep it inside, it's not good. It's only going to do more damage to your.
Fear grows in darkness, right?
There you go. There you go. There you go. And I've been told by many women, they have messaged me and they have told me that I am the beacon of light.
Awesome.
See, in the world that we live in today, in this dark world that we live in. And I know what they're talking about. They're talking about COVID. Listen, I know, I understand. And, you know, I'm single, I'm self-supporting. So during COVID, what I decided to do was to really scale up my podcast. And I'm also in network marketing too. So, you know, and it's great because you get to surround yourself with high level people.
That's so critical, isn't it?
Yeah.
For women, like you're talking about such powerful and empowering things. I'm loving this, Angeline.
Good, me too.
Because there's so many women. I mean, I hear it over and over again. I can't leave. I can't do anything because I have no money. I have no finances. I have no savings account. I have no ability to create a method for me to do something to support. Like that's what I'm hearing a lot. So can you talk to our guests and our listeners a little bit about what it is that you do? Because you do have a way to empower them financially, I understand.
Yes, I do. Yes, I have a way to empower women financially. Number one is crypto. Okay.
Oh, I know very little about crypto, so
yes,
you got my attention.
So we help people build a crypto portfolio. We also help people with passive, help them earn passive income, a second income through crypto, because crypto is hot right now. The industry is very, very hot right now. And, you know, I've been able to earn daily profits. So yes, through.
So when you say daily profits, you mean that other than what you're actually going out to a job and working, this is money that is earned through crypto. And is it hard to get into this market, this crypto market?
Not at all. Not at all.
So what would somebody need? Let's say I'm a woman who's decided that I want to improve my life, and for whatever reason, whether you're, you know, with a partner or not, and you've decided that you want to take things the next step. What would that take for someone?
Okay, the first thing they need to work on is their mindset. So last year I partnered with my millionaire mentor. Because, you know, I was still working full time. I made good money. Don't get me wrong, but I was sick and tired of building a dream for someone else.
Right.
Building someone else's dream. So during that time, I worked on personal development. Personal development is huge. That's the first thing they need to do. You know, like listen to Les Brown.
Yeah.
Simon Sinek, Jim Rohn.
Mental fitness is kind of like physical fitness, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, it's something that you practice daily.
Right.
And as you practice it, it builds. It's like building your muscles. It's like building your stamina or your resilience. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens little bits by little bits, you know. That's exciting because one of the things that I'm embarking on is a new mental fitness opportunity for women, but I can talk about that in a little while. But I'm really curious to hear more about what it is that you do. So you paired with someone who had a millionaire mindset. Can you tell me why that's so critical?
That is so critical, not only for women but for men too, because you know how it is back in childhood. You're growing up, and sometimes parents mean well, okay. But they say, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do that. No, 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 no. You know what happens? That stays inside of you.
Yeah.
See, unfortunately, so what I had to do was to break through those self-limiting beliefs, and I was able to do that. So,
Yeah. I always say that the word belief is the
right,
clue because it has the word lie in it.
there you go.
Our beliefs are what we base our lives on. They are the truths at the time, and many of them were created when we're very young. So we have very limited experience in the world, and inherently a belief has a lie in it.
Exactly, exactly. So the first thing so what I did, I was able to Johnson numbed the chatterbox. Okay, so
Yeah, I don't think he's talking about us. I don't know.
I think he's talking about the chat box. I know.
Numbing the inner chatterbox.
Okay, okay. So
Oh, thanks, John.
thanks, John. I like that. Okay, so so breaking through those self-limiting beliefs. So fast forward to September, I decided to make a trip to Port Elizabeth, South Africa. You want to talk about taking a leap of faith
Wow.
and putting myself out there? I mean, the last time I flew overseas was Greece in 1982. I haven't been back to overseas since, but I plan to next year, God willing. So I flew to Port Elizabeth, South Africa for my first launch event, for the first launch event of the company that I am with, that I partnered with. So it was amazing. I mean, just to experience the culture in South Africa and the people there.
Different part of our world, different
Yeah.
perspectives, different possibilities.
There you go. There you go. There you go. There. What
So
an amazing experience. I was, well, because I had taken a company vacation. So, so I took 2 weeks, my 2 weeks, I used my 2 weeks paid vacation. And I just said, I'm going for it. Life is short. Life is short.
So there's that word again. You're showing that fearlessness, right? And you're showing that empowerment and that motivation. And you use your voice. Like, I mean, you're using all of the words that are our magic words for today. And like, I'm really excited about that. So is this something that other women can also take, like can get into, or other women could learn about?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Your company is Let's Break the Silence, and breaking the silence is often really difficult if we don't know what we're breaking the silence for. It's that uncertainty, that unknown. So so pretend I know nothing about it and let me hear how would I break my silence?
Okay, well, here's how you would break your silence. Okay, so when you go to my website, you will see my whole story of how I went from victim to victor of domestic violence. So it is very, very important to share your story. It's very, very important to be transparent. I don't care if you went through some sort of abuse. I don't care. It's important to make an impact on people's lives, because your story is going to make an impact on someone's life.
Yeah, and by I don't care, you mean that it's not that you don't care. It means that it doesn't define you.
Exactly.
Your story is just that. You can share it, but it doesn't define who you are.
There you go. There you go. Your past does not define you.
Yeah.
It's important to build a legacy. So I am building a legacy for myself and for the future.
And I understand that part of that legacy was moving into that beautiful apartment that you're in right now.
2-bedroom apartment. Not that my one-bedroom apartment wasn't nice, but this is so much better. I mean, I have a lot more room now, so it takes longer for me to get dressed in the morning, only because I have so much room, but the apartment here is a blessing.
Yeah, so what I hear is that how you've gone from a very dark place, a place of being in a state where another human being was actually quite abusive to you. Exactly. And that's very disempowering, especially when that human being is someone who is supposed to love us and care for us.
Right.
And I'm sure at that point you could not see into the future, where you're sitting right now, which looks absolutely beautiful, and the possibilities that have been created by moving beyond that edge.
Exactly.
Fearlessly grasping a hold of what's available out there. So I'm just gonna hold things right there for just a moment. We're just gonna take a little break, and we'll be right back. This is the Edge of Fulfillment on the Women for Women Network and Talk for TV, and we'll see you in just a moment.
There are 3 reasons video is the future of content. Number 1 is that videos are more engaging than just pictures or music alone. Number 2, it's much easier to tell your story in an interesting way. Number 3, videos go viral much faster. Hey, notice that you're watching right now. Next time, place your video here. Or listen on W4WN radio.
So just to recap, we've had 4 of our magic words that you can enter for the draw. And those words were voice, motivation, empower, and fearless. And you've actually had the 5th word. So the 5th word, and I'm going to offer it to our viewers right now because give them a little bit of time to put it in the chat at the end, or to send it by email. The 5th word was actually part of your company. Your company is Let's Break the Silence. And the 5th word is silence, because silence is what silence is beautiful. Or it can also keep you trapped.
That's true.
And when you're silent through fear, we spoke earlier about fear grows in darkness, but quite often people are embarrassed or they're fearful, and so that keeps them silent. And I'm so glad that you are no longer silent, Angeline, and that you have found your voice in helping women, and you help women through telling your story. So continue with telling us more about what it is that you do. We've got about 5 minutes before we need to wrap up. And I just want listeners and viewers to know now is the time to put those 5 words into the chat. So go ahead and do that so that you're entering into the draw. Or you can send it to support@headheartsynergy.com. And thank you, Rachel, for putting that up for us. So either way, email or the chat. So go ahead, Angeline. Let's hear some more about your absolutely wonderful offerings.
Sure. So I help women and men to attract joy and abundance into their lives. So this is one thing I learned from my millionaire mentor. What you put out to the universe, so it has to be good, it has to be amazing. Give more than you receive, meaning be humble and be a servant leader. So what you put out to the universe out there, it comes back to you. So make sure you are attracting the right people into your lives, and that's what I've been able to do. Attracting abundance, attracting wealth, attracting joy, attracting happiness into my life. That's exactly what I've accomplished, and I'm teaching people to do the same. The law of attraction. There you go. John hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. And he also mentioned status. And it's interesting to me that's quite often people regard a lot of women who are abused. They believe that it happens at a certain income level, or it's tied to a certain economic status. And it's not at all, is it? I'm hearing
No.
from you that you were extremely successful and still experienced that. So I think it's important that our viewers and our listeners know that it's not about status.
No, it
It's
isn't.
not.
In
It's
fact, 10 years ago, I was broke and I was almost homeless.
mm,
I was staying in people's houses, sleeping on the couch, sleeping on, you name it. You know, I was basically living the gypsy life for 1 year. So if I can pull out of this, anyone can do it.
yeah, and I heard that again. To summarize, that you said that you stepped fearlessly forward into, and I'll reference our card again for
Good.
today, into that uncharted sea,
Yeah,
and surrounded yourself by people and with people who could lift you up. We become like the people that we hang out with, we hang around, and
exactly.
invite people to look at the 5 people that you spend the most time with.
Mm,
And are they moving? Are they the wind beneath your wings? Or are they dragging you down?
they are the wind beneath my wings. In fact, one of them, he's in the crypto space. He is a 7-figure multiple figure earner. He interviewed me a little over a month ago. So the theme was rising from the ashes. So I rose from the ashes.
Yeah, it sounds like you were very much like a phoenix.
Exactly.
You know,
There you go. There you go. Yes,
and
yes.
I always say, if you can identify one person who's done it, then you can do it too.
Exactly. Exactly. So that interview drew over 200 people on a Zoom meeting, on a Zoom call, you know, from South Africa to the UK to New York to the US. So that was huge for me. That was like really literally a breakthrough for me to be asked. So I'm attracting 7-figure earners, 8-figure earners. I'm attracting a lot more, people, leaders into my life, which is a huge blessing. So the future looks bright.
Oh, well, that's a wonderful message to end our show on. The future looks bright. And if you're out there and you are feeling that you need some support, then by all means reach out to Angeline at Let's Break the Silence. Or if you're resonating more with the things that I've said, you're welcome to reach out to me as well at lorrainelapointe.ca. And either one of us is happy to help support you and help be that wind beneath your wings.
That's
and
right. I love that.
Yeah, I want to thank you so much for taking the time today to come on the show, Angeline. We have about a minute left. So is there anything that you haven't been able to say to our viewers that you'd like to say?
Sure, absolutely. Okay, and thank you so much for having me on your show. So my message is, the first thing, if you are going through some sort of abuse, especially domestic violence, and my message is, first, let the authorities know where you are at all times, because that's what I did.
Yeah.
Like whenever I was traveling or I was staying at someone's house, I always let the New York State Police and the sheriff's office know exactly where I was. So make sure you have an exit plan in place too. I didn't mention that in the beginning. Make sure you have an exit plan, and make sure you meet that person in a public place, not at home, in a public place.
Very
That's
good advice. Yeah.
there. Oh yeah. Oh yes. And make sure, you surround yourself with heart-centered leaders, people who will help you, lead you into the new path, and make sure that what you put out there to the universe, which is good, comes back. So attract, don't have that scarcity mindset. Don't ever say you can't do this, because you know what? If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Thank you, Angeline. That is so wonderful and so positive.
Thank
And
you.
just a reminder for viewers, our 5 secret words are voice, motivation, empower, fearless, and silence. And that is exactly what I think that we've covered today. And thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Absolutely.
And if our viewers would like to join a community of like-minded people, I invite them to join the Facebook group, Mindfully Moving Forward. And remember to drop those words in the chat so that we can do the draw, and perhaps you'll be the lucky winner of the Amazon gift card supported by Let's Break the Silence. Thank you, Angeline.
My pleasure.
We'll look forward to speaking with everyone again next week. All right. Bye for now, everyone.
Bye, everyone.